What's up guys, Houndish here. Today, we're jumping in with some Destiny 2 updates and discussion. Of course, over the last couple of weeks, it's been very quiet on the Destiny front. Loads of stuff about Marathon, obviously. And so everything feels a bit strange, doesn't it? If you're really excited about Marathon and having fun there, then I guess that's a nice distraction. If not though, I totally get that the vibes are a bit weird. I want to say up front here, yes, normally I'd post some stuff about Weekly Reset and updates on a Monday, but with the game being really quiet right now, it may be that I have to pivot away from that on the weeks where there isn't something going on, right? I know in a couple of weeks' time we're going to get Guardian Games and some other events dotted in as we lead up to June. But we will still be doing the Weekly Reset coverage on a Tuesday with the vendor refresh, Eververse, patches and all that kind of stuff. Couple of potentially interesting developments here. Zubitech on Twitter shared Bungie are working on a new project. Now, this is not something that's confirmed, obviously, but it's drummed up a lot of attention on social media. Some speculate it could have been in relation to what TK Bling from Bungie has in his bio on socials, which is that he was working on an unannounced project, although according to Destiny Bulletin, they are now working at Team LFG, which was the Gummy Bears dev team that was actually moved out of Bungie and instead solely into PlayStation. So this is just highly speculative at the minute as to whether it's true and what it relates to, because an unannounced project could be literally anything. It could be a Marathon expansion in a year. It could be the next D2 expansion, which would be awesome. Or it could be D3, which other leakers have suggested is in fact in very early development. But again, this is very much unconfirmed. So if you have any speculation, let me know down below. But here we're going to talk about what happened to the Destiny 2 roadmap, where we're going in the short term. A couple of housekeeping updates initially. D2 on Twitter said daily and weekly resets now occur at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So if the clocks have changed in your time zone, that will mean that resets are now an hour later than they were previously. And specifically in relation to this week, D2 will get another update on March 10th, that's 9555. And Bungie have still been dropping patches for Destiny 2 on an almost weekly basis, primarily with fixes and stuff, but I'm sure as well they need to load in some of the data for Guardian Games, which at this point is more or less a maximum of a couple of weeks away. So we might get an announcement about that soon. Otherwise, as we know, Shadow and Order was delayed. Bungie will be renaming it, which is quite interesting. Probably because the scope of the update has changed. I'd imagine that's the primary function of renaming it, given that they've said there'll be a bunch of quality of life stuff, including weapon tier upgrading, tiered gear being expanded to all raid and dungeon activities, Pantheon 2.0, and then tier 5 stats for exotic armors and more, which as a quality of life update is nice. But of course, bigger system changes and new content will generally be considered to be more important for most players. Although the likelihood of that happening really depends on Bungie's intentions for D2 moving forward. We know that player counts for Destiny 2 right now are pretty much lower than they've ever been, and they were dropping slowly, of course, as players kind of wrapped up all the stuff they wanted to do with Renegades, and then they're not really even being a grind in the game at this point, even inside of Bungie's unpopular portal system, and of course the power system, which they didn't actually refresh for Renegades, not that I'm saying they should have. So hopefully we'll hear what the scope of that is going to be soon, but Bungie had confirmed Guardian Games for March, as we mentioned. Then, the return of more frequent Iron Banner, starting in April. Something I was very curious about though, related to the events kind of calendar that Bungie outlined before, is whether we're still going to get Call to Arms in April. They don't confirm this in the most recent update that they put on X, but before Renegades dropped, they'd indicated the goal was to have the Call to Arms event mid-season. It's also interesting that Bungie had already referred to April as being mid-season, which of course would have been 5 months after Renegades dropped. So in a strange kind of way, I've just realized Bungie almost confirmed that this season was going to be extended before Renegades even came out, which made it even more curious that they didn't confirm this for such a long time, including the delay for Shadow and Order. I think it would still be nice to get Call to Arms just for, some extra stuff to do for anyone who's still playing Destiny 2. Although my suspicion is that this is also either going to be pushed back until after the update we get in June, or maybe scrapped entirely. But perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps they will still drop it in April, despite not actually confirming it. And that means for Destiny players, beyond what's coming in June, we still have the same overarching question that we really had since Renegades, right? Or before that even, which is where Bungie are actually planning to go with the Destiny franchise generally, where the possibilities still include that Bungie will drop expansions, specifically referencing the 2 expansions, Shattered Cycle and The Alchemist, that they already outlined as part of this kind of Fate saga. It could be that those are still coming, but of course the primary reason they were called into question is this obvious big shift in Bungie's general plan moving forward and the roadmap, behind the scenes, whatever that is. It could be that those are delayed, and that's why Bungie also delayed this June update. And perhaps given how perception has been around Destiny 2 and the fact that they've accrued more work than they could really complete in their original timeline, and I don't know, maybe Bungie are going to try and make a big go of Destiny 2 again, albeit after a bit more of an extended delay. The only other real possibility, I think, for D2 as it currently stands, and a lot of people feel that this is probably the case, and that would be that Bungie are cancelling the major projects for Destiny 2, and that Shadow and Order will now be almost a sort of Age of Triumph type affair. The reality is that we just don't really know, but I thought it was a valuable conversation to have alongside some of the other small updates that we've had this week. Because I am still getting a massive amount of comments asking if I've just moved on from Destiny 2. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I keep getting the same question. The answer is no, I haven't moved away from Destiny 2. I don't think any content creator for Destiny has done that. It's just that we're in a drought where videos like this one today are just about the most interesting conversation we can actually have at the minute. And that is the frustrating continuation of months of speculation, really, about where we're going. But I can guarantee you, I'm not planning on going anywhere, and I don't think most Destiny creators are. If Bungie make an announcement, they'll be all over it, man. You'll probably see speculation videos based on some of the stuff we've mentioned here. As it relates to D2 though, of course we can only really work with what we've got, so we'll see how things move forward. But for today, that's the update. I will keep you posted tomorrow at Reset. That'll be the patch, all the Eververse stuff, weekly rewards, and whatever other updates Bungie give us. But I will also be dropping updates about Marathon, most specifically news things and kind of keeping an eye on how Bungie are handling that, as well as the content rollout, especially since we are still in the very early launch period for it, right? Because I think the reality looking at both Marathon and Destiny is that while Marathon is quite different, a very big part of its player base right now are people who've also played Destiny for years, right? If you're someone who doesn't enjoy Marathon, then it perhaps won't feel like that's the case, but based on the content creators that are covering it, a lot of people in the community that I'm seeing talking about it, it's not a 100% crossover by any means, but it's quite a significant crossover. So for me, it makes sense to remain kind of Bungie positioned to cover all the major stuff that they're doing. And as I've promised you guys many times, I sincerely hope that that includes Destiny franchise stuff. So I'll keep you up to date. Stay locked and loaded for that if you want to. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate your patience. Let us know what games you are playing down in the comments if you're a bit quiet on Destiny or not into the Marathon stuff. I'll still be doing our broader gaming news updates and things as well. So we adapt, my friends, one way or another. What choice do we have? For now though, cheers for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day.